back to Forby and welcome back to my workshop. Today I had a message from one of our business friends, one of our customers, who got in touch with me because he's about to put a new clutch in his car. And we had a bit of a conversation over text messaging, and I started talking to him about tools, and specifically tools that make the job easier for you. Now, not every tool you can buy from a shop, and we at Forby, we sell quite a few tools that are Land Rover specific, but this particular tool is something that anybody could make at home relatively easily. So I'm going to show you what it is. It's an alignment tool that aligns the crank seal on the back of the engine. Now, these crank seals have to be aligned in a particular way, and they have to go on square. Now, most mechanics, or most Land Rover mechanics, will be lying on their back on their front drive doing this sort of work, and there's nothing wrong with that. In fact, it's probably the best place to be on a Sunday, hiding from the kids and the wife. But if you can make your life easier by making little tools that help you along your way, then it's worth spending the time up front and manufacturing something that's just going to assist you on your little quest. So come and join me, and I'll show you how I'm going to make some alignment pins for that very purpose. Now, very simply, all I'm going to do is take two 8mm threaded bolts and turn them into alignment pins to assist in the location of the rear crank seal for this particular 300 TDI Discovery engine. And in order to do that, I'm going to use two common workshop tools. The first is a drill. Everybody should have a drill. If you haven't, well, you know, sell your Land Rover. The other thing which I'm going to use is a grinder. Again, an absolute staple of the Land Rover workshop. If you don't own one today, the chances are at some stage down the line you'll be doing some welding, you'll be doing some metal cutting, you'll be doing something that requires a grinder. So I'm going to say that both of these tools are common, and both are found in most Land Rover workshop garages, sheds, that sort of thing. So I'm going to show you what needs to be done to turn these two bolts into a couple of really useful tools that you can use when you're lying on your back on a Sunday with your mates round, the bacon butties are on, and you're getting a clutch done. So stay with me. So I've got one of these bolts in the vise, and the first thing I'm going to do is grab my ear defenders and my safety squints. Now, if you've ever been to the hospital to get a bit of hot metal picked out of your eye with a syringe, you'll know what I'm talking about. I have. It's not pleasant, so put your goggles on whenever you're doing any grinding. We don't need these bolt heads, they're going to go in the bin. Right, what we were after is a couple of M8 threaded rods, and using a bolt that's only partially threaded is better. And all we're going to do is put a taper on this end, and I'll show you how we're going to do that. I've changed the disc on my grinder. I've got rid of the thin cutting disc, and I've changed it for a dished grinding disc. Now, this is important. It's important that you use a grinding disc that is capable of taking a side load. You don't want to use one of these, it might shatter. If it shatters, it's going to hurt you. So we've got a thick grinding disc on here, and all we're going to do is we're just going to square off the end of the bolts. So I've got my bolt section here. I'm just going to clamp it in the vise, and we're just going to dust the top of this with the grinder. And we've got 2 of them to do, so let's do the other one as well. So in order to create the taper on the end of here, I'm going to use my handheld cordless drill, and I'm going to throw these bolts in here and chuck them up. Now what I've done is I've clamped my angle grinder into the vise, and it's tight enough to hold it securely, but not so tight that it's going to deform the housing. Now there's another thing that I've done, and that is I've plugged this into the wall on a socket that is very, very easy for me to reach, because what I'm going to do is I'm going to switch the grinder on and control the motor with the on-off switch on the wall. Now should this break free from the vise, I don't want it anywhere near me, so I'm going to stand well back, and I'm going to stand within arm's reach of the power switch for this. But literally all we're going to do is spin this stone, and at the same time use the drill to spin the rod. So what I'm left with is a threaded rod, 8mm, with a very slight taper on the end. Don't know if you can see that. And we could leave that as it is, or what I'm going to choose to do is take the very thin slitting disc and just put a notch in the top of that, which will allow us to screw it in and out with a screwdriver. So let me just change blades on the grinder, and we'll do that, and job done. And the last thing I'm going to do is just take off the sharp edges with a file. So there you have it, a couple of alignment pins, perfect for doing the crank seal on the back of a 300 TDI engine, and they're really going to come into their own when you're lying on your back on Sunday with a belly full of bacon butty and coffee, and sorting out the crank seal on the back of your engine. So do yourself a favour, make yourself some of these. These, you know who you are. They're going in the post straight to you tomorrow morning when we get to the office and we're sitting down in front of the desk and we're getting into all mail order and everything. These are for you, buddy. But do yourself a favour, make yourself some of these in M10 as well, and it's going to make your job a lot easier. Thanks for watching. I'll see you on the next one.